The Banshee's wail, a terrifying harbinger of death. The storm raged through the Irish countryside, howling against the ancient stone walls of the O'Connell estate. The flickering candlelight barely kept the darkness at bay as Liam O'Connell sat alone in his family's study, nursing a glass of whiskey. He had returned to the estate after years abroad, called back by his father's sudden illness. The family's lands had once been prosperous, but now they were shadowed by misfortune, failed harvests, mysterious deaths, and whispers of an old curse. As he sat in contemplation, a sound sliced through the night. A keening wail, long, sorrowful, and unearthly. Liam froze, his blood turning to ice. He had heard the stories since childhood, the legend of the Banshee. She was the harbinger of death, a spirit bound to his family's bloodline. When her wail was heard, it meant someone in the household would die before dawn. He dismissed the thought as superstition, just an old folktale meant to scare children. But then he heard it again, closer this time. The wail seeped through the stone walls, curling around him like icy fingers. He stood abruptly, his pulse hammering. The storm outside battered the windows, and in a sudden gust, the candles flickered out. A shadow moved beyond the glass. Heart pounding, Liam grabbed a lantern and stepped outside into the wind and rain. The night was thick with mist, but in the distance, near the twisted branches of the old yew tree, he saw her. A figure draped in tattered gray robes, her hair long and wild, whipping in the storm. Her face was pale as the moon, her hollow eyes locked onto his. She lifted a skeletal hand and let out another wail, so piercing, so filled with sorrow, that Liam staggered backward, clutching his ears. The ground beneath him trembled. The very air seemed to thicken with the weight of impending doom. And then, silence. The figure had vanished, swallowed by the mist. Liam stumbled back inside, drenched and shaking. He bolted the door and reached for the whiskey, but his hands were trembling too much to hold the glass. Then came the sound of footsteps on the stairs. He turned, expecting to see a servant, but no one was there. The footsteps grew louder, descending toward him. His breath caught in his throat. From the shadows of the staircase, a voice rasped, "She came for me, lad." Liam's father stood at the landing, his eyes glassy, his skin gray and lifeless. He took one final, rattling breath before collapsing forward. The house echoed with his last gasp. The Banshee's warning had been true. When the servants found Liam the next morning, he was still seated by the fire, staring into the distance, his father's cold hand resting in his lap. That night, the wailing was heard again. The Banshee was never wrong. And she was never finished. If you liked it, please leave a like and or subscribe. Thank you.